Good morning, everybody. Let me just pull my screen up. I hope you're receiving the slides well. Again, welcome. My name is Themin Suwardy. I'm the Dean for the Postgraduate Programs here at Singapore Management University. I have the pleasure of having the company of Professor Rick Smith, who looks after all our programs at the Lee Kong Chian School of Business, and he will talk to you a little bit later on, specifically about the offerings and portfolio of programs we have at the business school. Today with Headhunt, we have various booths outside as well, that virtual fair, virtual booth that you can visit. On our website, there is also a live chat button that you can contact us if you want to talk to one of our admission officers. So you could do that after this session. Let me just share with you a little bit about the entire portfolio of our master's program at SMU. And I know we're all looking at options, choices. So I thought I'd just give a very quick summary of the portfolio of programs that we have. You see the colors here, they are color coded by schools. It may not matter to you, but we organize them according to school. So you see a few, quite a few blues. The blues are our Lee Kong Chian School of Business. The red are our School of Accountancy. The yellow goldish color is our School of Information System. Purples are our School of Law, School of Economics. I should have taken that extra blue at the end out. My apologies. But at the business school, if we classify programs, I guess you could say that the first three are what we call management program. The next three are what we call the finance program, and three at the second row is what we would normally call specialized master's program. All right. So they all have slightly different start. They all have slightly different mode. We have a variety of mode to cater for different, student groups and so on. So just a very quick run through on in terms of timings and what you could be looking forward to. Many of our programs starts twice a year. Some starts once a year. So that may come into consideration in terms of when you want to take a particular program. Our EMBA starts in October. Our part-time MBA starts in July, this coming July. Our full-time starts in January. I've indicated the length of the program as well in there. And again, MEM, MWM, and so on and so on. I won't read all of them to you, but that is just to give you a quick perspective in terms of planning ahead. What sort of program, when you need to get ready for application and so on. My general comment there in terms of getting ready is if the program starts in month X, you do want to finalize all your paperwork and everything, ideally at least a month before that. All right, at least a month before that, because there are interview process, there are referee reports you need to get and so forth. So if a class is starting in June, you want to finish everything in the month of May or even in April, as an example. Okay, so again, as I said earlier, this is just an introduction for Rick's session. After this, feel free to connect with us either through our website, our email, our social media channels. As I said, our admission advisors are on live chat today. So if you go to our website at the top line here, there is a button on the bottom right that says chat with us now. And you can go in there, pick the discipline you're interested, and our advisors will be happy to talk to you. Now with that, I'll pass the time to Rick. I'll end my screen sharing here. And Rick, please take over.
Great. Thank you, Themin. You heard directly there from the dean of all of our postgraduate programs across SMU, really the variety. And what I'm going to do now is dive into a little more detail in terms of, what do we look at in terms of the business school? And I know many people, have, maybe considered a master's degree or continuing their education in some way. And we view this very much as a great catalyst in careers. My background, I spent 30 years in business, always kind of a foot in academia, but I used early in my career a master's degree to create a catalyst on my own career. So I'm very passionate about this topic. Let me get into first an overview of the business school and then a look at some of our programs. As you may have seen, the business school is, the first school at SMU. We're 20 years old this year and excited about that big anniversary. We're, one of the largest and I think quickly rising business schools in Singapore, and are proud of what we've done in a relatively short period of time, at least in university lives, right? We're the youngest school to be accredited, the Triple Crown. Now, these accreditations don't mean a lot of things to people outside of the business community, but this is basically us getting good grades as a school, and we're pretty proud of that. And I think we've become known by employers for the types of students that graduate from SMU, from the business school. So within the school, we have a variety of different programs, and I'm going to go through these at a broad brush. The way to think about this is a couple of ways. One is, based on, the types of experiences that you have had so far. In other words, have you been out of school for several years? Are you just now graduating from with an undergraduate degree? And kind of that spectrum is, I think, something, to keep in mind. The other way to look at this is, okay, now what am I trying to do? Am I trying to drive into a specific area with a bit more specialization, or do I want more of a broad brush degree? And I'll describe some options within each of those. And so we'll kind of take this tier at a time. So we'll start with the MBA and the MIM, which are more general management programs in many ways. So providing a very broad-based education. The next we are specialized within the finance area. And so I'll talk a bit about that, Singapore being a financial services hub. That seems to be kind of a big draw and a lot of interest from around the region. And then we have a series of specialized general management programs, and I'll explain what we mean by that. But those are kind of that bottom row here. So let me get into an overview of each of these kind of suites of programs. So first off, with the MBA, an MBA is probably the most known degree in business schools around the world. And at SMU, we have something called an executive MBA. This is largely geared for people with at least 10 years of experience. And so been there, done that. Usually people in this program are at a relatively senior level in companies, perhaps running their own company, running a family business, those types of things. Our MBA is, I think, a unique program in that it covers all the basics of an MBA, but it's very clearly anchored in practice and in transformational things in our Asian context. And so the MBA can be taken on a full-time basis, which starts in January, or on a part-time basis, which will be coming up here starting in late July. And this program offers not only a broad perspective on key areas of business, but also a number of different electives in areas of interest. And so this also includes some focus around sustainability and immersion overseas. Immersion overseas, we may be making some adjustments along the way, like everywhere in the world, but that's a key part. And then there's something that's called the MIM. And the MIM is something that's really geared for people that are either coming directly out of a undergraduate degree, maybe just graduating, or have just a couple of years of experience. And the idea here is that particularly those that maybe have a technical degree like engineering or in the sciences or even in humanities, and now want a kind of a top up, if you will, on general management. And so it provides a broad brush around the management topics and then offers a specialization in key areas. And so, so the MIM is something that's again starts in July, and it can be completed on both a part-time or a full-time basis. Now, the part-time option is not only some in-person classes, but a lot of that can be done flexibly with an online format. And so more information about these, but thinking about this, these are general management programs. Depending on level of experience is a way to think about those. Our MBAs typically come in with 3, 5, 7 years of experience somewhere in there. Okay, so that's the first suite. Now, what do you do when you get done with one of those, right? And again, because these are broader in terms of the coverage, there's a lot of broad career applications. And so we see our graduates ending up with, a variety of different companies, both local, regional, as well as global firms, really across industry. And then they can also be in a variety of different roles, whether that's, general management, particularly in a area of the company, whether that's a function or a business line, perhaps. But so allowing probably more options. And this is a great thing if you don't exactly know what you want to do, but you want to get a little further in your understanding of management concepts, business concepts, then one of these programs is great. So let me move on to the finance suite. For those of you that are keen in finance, we've got a variety of different programs. And whether this is corporate finance or, market-related finance or banking, a variety of different interests here. And so a few ways to think about this. The first one is with our wealth management. This is generally people that have some industry experience and now want to get into a bit more depth in the area of wealth management. And so this program is 12 months. It runs on a modular basis. So there's kind of big study blocks with some internship periods in between. And so if you have some, maybe a few years of experience in financial services, this is a great way to get into perhaps a new area in wealth management that you may be interested in. Our Master of Science in Applied Finance is one that, really is, kind of a broad brush within the finance area. In other words, you could do a variety of different things in the finance industry, in financial services, whether that's in banking or other related fields. So this is a 12-month program with an internship, and it allows you to prepare as well for the industry certification. And so we see this as something that's really looked upon quite favorably in the industry. And for those that are very quantitative in nature, don't worry, we have a quantitative finance. So this one is obviously geared around financial markets, looking, and you must be kind of a quant jock to get into all the nuances of this, I must say. But if you have a strong background in whether that's science, engineering, doesn't necessarily need to be business, then this program may be of interest to you. We partner there with Cass Business School in London, and for an international experience for those that are interested in that. But it also prepares a lot of people for some pretty interesting roles in the finance arena. And so where do the graduates end up? here again, this is a specialized area, and so obviously a lot more in banking, in investment banks, in financial services in some way, in a variety of those different roles, again, for a specialization in finance. So if that's for you, we've got a variety of programs that are, I think very well respected in the industry, not just in Singapore, but really all around the region and around the world. And then the last suite is that of general management, and here we call these general management. They actually are specialized within the broader field of management. It's kind of how we think about that. And so it provides a little bit of breadth because you've got to have kind of the general knowledge around business. And so there's some foundation courses embedded in these, but then very deep in a particular area. And there's 3 of these, which is starting with human capital. So those that are interested in the strategic side of human resources, interested perhaps in having an HR career, in how to move to a more strategic level in that HR career, or those in other parts of the organization who have kind of a keen interest of how do we do more with people in the organization, and having an eye towards that, whether you're positioning for a future business leader or a career in HR, we see students kind of taking this on from both angles. Our Master of Science Innovation is quite well known for some of the things that we've done, both from a startup perspective. So we have students that have successfully taken on this program, have gone on and done some fabulous startups, and we have a whole startup incubation and innovation group and center within SMU. And or whether it's innovation for an existing business, and a number of companies have sent some of their key people to come into this program with an eye towards how do we create more innovation in our business, and whether it's either one of those types of focus, whether that's small company, large company, new company, all of those in the MI program. And then there's the communication management. And here again, people that have a interest in corporate communications, whether that's public relations or looking at kind of the reputation of the firm. This is a really important area right now, dealing with crisis. How do we manage crisis? How do we communicate crisis? How do we take care of our employees, our shareholders, our stakeholders, all around, and corporate communications plays a key role in that. And this has been a long-running, very successful program with really a great reputation in the marketplace. All 3 of these programs can be taken on a part-time basis or on a full-time basis. And here we have a difference where most of the part-time students come in with a few years of experience. The full-time students typically come in with less, and some just come straight through with their undergraduate degree. So we see these programs, and where do people end up? Again, really across different industries and across different organizations, companies, and in a variety of different roles, typically somewhat related, obviously, to their area of specialization. And so those are those three programs. And so overall, the way that we look at this is that there's, depending on your, again, your experience level and your interest, whether that's, broad in nature in terms of general management education, business education, or you're focused in a particular area. I think we have a variety of programs that can work depending on your interest, depending on your needs. Now, obviously, this is a very broad brush of all of the programs that we have at a master's level. I should also mention that we have professional doctorate programs, doctorate in business administration, that also, people have interest in, but I'm not going to cover that today. But more information on all these is available, of course, on our website. But let me mention a couple of things about admissions for those of you that may be interested in taking on one of these programs, one of these degrees. A couple of things. What are we looking for? Well, obviously, we want to make sure that you've got the academic wherewithal to take it on, because these are challenging. There's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of commitment to taking it on. Now, it's kind of one of those things where, yeah, it's some work to get it done, but the rewards come with the degree as well. We're also looking for people that, maybe don't have a stellar academic, background or, grades from undergraduate. That's okay. But if you've a strong track record of achievement, that's great. That's great. So, what have you made? What have you done? Whether that's, in your professional life or perhaps in other ways. Perhaps it's related to community and other things. And we're interested in all of those things. We want well-rounded people. And then, what other things do you bring to the party? One of the things that we pride ourselves on at SMU is diversity, and we're looking for people that bring a lot of different experiences, perspectives to the learning environment in what we do. So from an admission standpoint, a few things to keep in mind, right? One is that to get a master's degree, we do require that you complete a bachelor's degree first. And there is this admissions test, which is something that, we'll work with you on. It's something we have, which is an SMU admission test, so which is a shorter version. So we'll provide some ways for you to prepare for that. And I think everybody with the right preparation does pretty okay. If you did not complete your bachelor's degree in the English language, then we will require some English proficiency along the way. And so we'll talk to you more about that. If you don't have a TOEFL or IELTS test score, there's other ways that we can work with you on that. And so, and then as a part of the application process, we'll ask you for some of your thoughts with some short, essays. We'll ask for your references, and we'll ask you in for an interview. So those are the things in the admissions process. The fees for each of these programs vary quite widely, and so I encourage you to kind of look that up on the website. Living expenses, if you're not living in Singapore, is something to take note of. We'll work with you to help you, find something that's suitable for you, but there's plenty of different options in Singapore, but that do take note of that. But we do have a variety of scholarships that are available, whether those are for people that have demonstrated leadership, bringing in perhaps a unique perspective and background, and so I think particularly across ASEAN, we have a number of different scholarships available. So do inquire about those if you're interested. So that's a quick overview in terms of the business school. We're proud of what we've achieved. We've got some great momentum, and even in this virus time that we're in, we're confident that we're going to get through this with some shining colors, and that our graduates, I think, are poised to really be ready for the future that awaits us. So we're excited about not only what we've done, but where we're going as well. And we'd love for you to join us, love for you to inquire more. And with that, I'll stop and we'll take some questions. I think both Dean Themin and I are prepared to take questions as we go. All right.
Thank you, Rick. I have been busy typing answers while you were talking. I hopefully have answered quite a few questions. Thank you, Amber, and I'm just trying to read the name, Jong Ong and Melanie, Calvin, etc. for your questions. Hopefully, I've answered them. A common thing I would say in some of those questions was, obviously this is a short period of time for us to be talking to you. For further details and in-depth discussion about where you are, your background, where you want to be, what sector you are interested in, please talk to our admission advisors who will be happy to talk to you through the live chat today all the way to 6 o'clock. Some of the open questions I've not had a chance of typing an answer to yet. And Rick and I can take turn and do this. Some of them are reasonably quite straightforward, so we can handle them here. One question was, what would be a good GMAT or GRE score? And I think that really depends on the program. Different programs have looked at different things. For example, Rick mentioned MQF, for example, that is far more quantitative in nature. If it has the word quantitative in the degree name, you would probably expect a reasonably better performance in the quant side for admission. And that's very, very different from another program where we are admitting people with 10, 15 years of experience. So the academic entry is balanced with the experience that you are bringing into the classroom. So we don't have a fixed cutoff. People would say to you, generally speaking, a GMAT of 600 plus is a reasonably competitive score, but every program is different. So I think that's as general as we can say it at this particular forum. Detail, please talk to our specific discipline advisor. There are a few other questions. Rick, you can do some of this as well. I don't know whether you can see the Q&A panel. There's one on, is there a program on marketing or digital marketing, or are there courses for that in the business school? Would you want to talk about the selection and all electives that we have at business school?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do not have a dedicated degree program in marketing. And the reason for that is that we cover marketing, digital marketing in a variety of our programs. So we have that not only in the MBA, which is, I think, a pretty popular set of courses, actually, and then also in the MIM. I should also note that the Masters of Communication Management does touch quite a bit on some of the marketing related area, because we're dealing with the reputation of the firm and kind of brand, those types of things. So so it's covered in a variety of ways, and in each of our programs there's not only kind of the digital marketing but also the analytics that goes with that, and so because that's just essential in business today.
One more for you, Rick. Is it common for students to enroll in MIM first, and perhaps sometimes many years in the future, an MBA program? Do you see that with your students?
Yeah, that's a growing trend. The MIM program around the world is something that's kind of evolved over the last several years. So we do see students taking a MIM and then later taking perhaps maybe not an MBA like a few years later, because I think that would be a bit very repetitive in some of the core courses, but certainly an EMBA. I think in our EMBA it was kind of comical because we have a number of people with 17, 20 years of experience. And they're like, oh yeah, I got an MBA, 17 years ago, and I'm getting an EMBA now. And so I think people are using degree programs at catalysts at different points in their career. So I wouldn't say that doing a MIM and then 5 years later doing an MBA probably makes a lot of sense. But I do see people doing a MIM and then later doing perhaps a specialized degree in a particular area, or perhaps an EMBA.
So let me supplement that as well. And I think MIM was designed basically to bring people from outside the business background, a broad introduction to the functional areas of business and so forth. It could be that, as Rick said, once you get into it, once you are working in that particular industry, particular function, you may find that you want to pick up specific skills as a subset, specialization. And that's where I think the balance between a general broad knowledge, like a MEM, an MBA, supplemented with something specialized is a very, very powerful combination. In general, the advice we would give is that if you come from a specialized discipline, the master's degree ought to broaden you up a little bit more. So if you're an engineer, you are you're a computer scientist, or you come from a technical, accounting or finance background, as you grow in your career, having something that broadens your skills would generally help you take more responsibility and partake in many other projects in your organization. If you come from something generic, for example, we tend to say you got to anchor yourself with something, a discipline. So that doesn't work for everybody. Sometimes double specialization is wonderful. So for example, if I'm an IT guy, I can do finance, so I can merge the two and be very knowledgeable in both IT and finance. But as a general comment, we tend to say that if you are specialized, get some general knowledge to push you along. If you are a generalist, anchor yourself in some strength so you have a specific background that you can be very, very that you can be known for, specializing. I don't know whether you agree with that, a general description, Rick, but I think that's usually how we say it to candidates.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Due to time, we will take one final question. I know I still have quite a few unanswered, 13 open questions here. We'll try to respond as much as we can. But please, if you need to, our booths are still open, our career advisors are still open. So again, as I said, thank you very much for being here. We can only answer some of this question. I'll pick one more. I'll generalize a question from Jaren here. Jaren basically said, if I don't have an undergraduate degree in a particular discipline, can I do the master's degree in that discipline? So if I'm not from finance, can I do a finance master's? If I'm not from, communication area, can I do communication master's? So Rick, your experience in students who are transitioning or changing a career?
Yeah, I think we really encourage that, because I think, again, going back to the idea that a master's degree is a catalyst. It's a catalyst in a career. And I think, and that can be either making a big switch or trying to make an advance in the discipline that you're in. I think the only area that we provide maybe some caution to is that if you've been kind of in the humanities side and suddenly you want to get into quantitative finance, that's a big switch. It's really hard to, if you've been away from calculus for a long time, it's really hard to turn on the calculus part of your brain again. So I think in most areas, and I know there's some questions here as well of, if you don't have a business perspective, we will help you make sure you're not getting in over your head. And so in general, all of our programs are geared to make sure you get the foundation courses first, and then we'll get to some of those advanced areas. But just because you haven't had experience in HR doesn't mean you would struggle in the human capital program. Just because you don't have, experience in, communication management, and you want to get into that area, you wouldn't, you wouldn't be disadvantaged.
Okay, I think Jamie is giving us a signal that this is time to head off. I'm not too sure if I can continue answering the text questions if we leave the room. Probably, so he's shaking his head saying, I can't answer the rest of your questions. So my apologies, Ling Ling, Chan Chong, Loin, and everybody else, that we can't answer all your 5 questions. We are still available, our staff are still available, our advisors are still available. Please come to the virtual booth, I guess, and the live chat, so we can continue helping you with this. And again, if all else fail, email us at masters@smu.edu.sg, and we'll get back to you as well. Thank you very much, everybody. Jamie, over to you.